Bam, we're back. Welcome to another episode of The Awakening Self. My name is Aaron Fisher, and today's guest is Nicole. So, before we begin, let me read to you a little bit about Nicole and her bio. So, she is a 29-year-old solo female traveler who was born in Ecuador, half Ecuadorian, and raised in Belgium. She's been traveling and experiencing the local life nonstop for the last 8 years. She's been to 55 countries and counting and can speak 5 languages. She loves meeting new people and experiencing new adventures. One of her rules is never say no to new experiences. This is how she found herself stranded on the Amazon River for over a week, eating a pig that was slaughtered in front of her, drinking water from the river. This is how she ended up overstaying her visa in Vietnam. This is how she ended up in many, many local dinners with local people in Sri Lanka, Myanmar. This is how she ended up crashing local weddings in Cambodia and the Philippines. And this is how she ended up getting Zinca and dengue in the Amazon and Brazil. And many, many more. She has become an expert in backpacking and getting herself into the most awesome adventures in life. So without further ado, let's you. Yo,
Hi.
what's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
I feel like it's been forever since we've spoken.
I know, right?
Well, that's a really cool intro. I love it. I love reading about it, and I love to hear about all the adventures that you've been on, which has been absolutely phenomenal. So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. As I mentioned, I was born in Ecuador and I'm half Colombian. And when I was 12, my mom got married to a Belgium guy, so that's when we had to go and move to Europe.
Hmm.
Um, Being in Europe opened a lot of doors for us, of course, which was great. Um, And when I was 21, I decided I actually wanted to leave. So I left. I went to study in Italy. I actually studied fashion design and styling. Um, but when I was there, I found myself pretty much like I did not really belong. That's
Mm.
when I actually went traveling for the first time on my own to Budapest. I thought I'd give it a try. I wanted my girlfriends to come with me, but at that moment, school and work, boyfriends didn't allow it. So I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, can I please go on my own to Budapest? I found a really cheap um, flight and I can stay at a hostel. And she was like, why would you do that to us? Like, why you're alone? Can't you just find somebody else like to go with you? I'm like, Mom, like there's no one and I really want to give it a try. And it was my grandpa that convinced them, thank God. um, and then I went on my first trip and I loved
Mm.
it. It was just a weekend and it wasn't backpacking. It was just a weekend and it went so easily. I got to meet people very quickly and I was like, okay, this is completely for me. Once I graduated, I left and I started traveling and I've like non-stop, like not stopped ever since. Like it's in my blood now. It's crazy.
That's pretty cool. So let's talk about an awakening or multiple awakening moments that you've had.
Okay. So I guess I'd start when I was studying in Italy, fashion design and styling. So we used to get invited to a lot of like fashion shows, and we used to get invited to all these like after parties where it was all very nice. I used to like dress the part and like try to spend money trying to like fit in, and that's when I realized like I was standing at a party and I would see people around me and people would come and be like, oh, hey, Nicole, how are you? And like hug here. And we have to meet after this. Here's my number. But then it would never happen. And I just thought like, this is just such a fake, like relationships that I'm building. And I felt not like really fulfilled. Um, and then that's why I decided I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go somewhere where um, I can find more than, because I thought there has to be some more than that, right? Um, and that's when I like went to Budapest and found out like this is amazing. I met so many different people there and I loved it. That's one of the things. Um, Another time that I found myself being awakened was actually not so long ago in Greece. So
Mm.
I went to Greece for as an experience. I got a job offer there where they would like it made it seem so beautiful, right? Like um, they said we're gonna pay for your ticket to come to Greece. You get a 2 week stay. In Greece, and then you'll find an apartment. Life here is pretty cheap, so you'll find a good apartment. The paycheck is not going to be crazy high, but it's the experience, right? And then, you know, like with me traveling, I'm like, it's the experience. That's what I'm going to go for, right? I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I ended up having a job where just like picking up the phone, welcome to Apple, this is Nicole, how may I help you? And I was like, okay, well, you know, it's for the experience, let's do it. And I'm sitting, like, one of the books that I had read was The Alchemist, which I
Mm.
literally suggest to like everyone. I was reading The Alchemist. I remember on the bus, on the train, um, and I like closed my book and I looked around and everybody was with their music, everybody was like on their phones, and like we got to the last bus stop, train stop, sorry, and everybody just stood up and started walking the same way. You know,
Mm.
everybody was just going to work, and I'm like looking around and I stood up as well and I'm just like walking with them, and I felt like it was just like a huge herd of sheep going the exact same way, and I was the only one that I was awake, and I was like, I can't believe that after all these years that I've been traveling, I caught myself back into this like world where nobody is being real, everybody's asleep, everybody's just doing everything 24/7, like their weeks, their days just go by without nothing, and I was just like, I can't do this, not at all. So man, that's when I was like, okay, this might be like foreign experience. I mean, who hasn't want to live in Greece? Like, at least I can say like there's another place I've lived, but I was like, no, it's not worth it. I need to go and like live my life the way I'll keep on doing it. So that definitely opened my eyes, and I can definitely say that that is one of the reasons why I know for myself that I cannot put myself into that situation ever again. I don't want to have a job where I'm not happy, where I'm just doing it because I need the money, or I'm just doing it because, well, just because we have to work. And I understand, but I feel like I can make my own thing doing, like, I can find a job doing with something I love, you know, not just because I need the money, you know? And that definitely woke me up. The Alchemist helped a lot about like how achieving your dreams, how you have to go through this journey to like
Mm-hmm.
finally find out what your treasure is in life. And like I feel that's where I'm at. I'm like going through this amazing journey, um finding everything. um then another one that I'd love to talk about as well, I've got so many.
I love it. Yep, keep it going.
So, one of my favorite ones would be, I was living back in Abu Dhabi this time, um, and I had graduated. I had enough money saved up, and I wanted to go backpacking again. I wanted to go and see another place in the world on my own, you know? And I was looking, okay, maybe India, but then I saw India and I was like, whoa, India is really big. I wouldn't know how to start, especially if I've never backpacked before. So, and then I saw the little island. I saw Sri Lanka, and I was like, whoa, like let's do it. I'm up for going to Sri Lanka. So, I start searching things up. You know, my grandparents are still like a bit skeptical. My mom is like, why would you do that to me? Like again, why on your own? Like this is what it was mostly like daunting for them, that I was going on my own. So I was like, no, don't worry, I'll do enough research for it. So I started doing some research, and I went into like this website where a lot of women gave like comments, like other solo travelers. And a lot of the solo travelers had said, um, Yeah, I wouldn't go there because a lot of people are, it's very like scary. Everybody's staring at you. They won't leave you alone. Like a lot of like comments like this. One girl even said like after 2 days in Sri Lanka, I decided to leave. And I was like, oh no, like did I make the right decision? But I
Mm.
decided to go anyways. And you know what, guys, like it was really true. When I did get there, I did have people staring at me. I did have people looking at me. I was in that like, and this was back, like years ago, where like not a lot of people used to go to Sri Lanka, but especially not backpacking. So I remember being on that train where you can like see the rice fields, and I see a group of 18-year-old kids, a pretty big group, just staring at me. And I was like, oh wow, so this is what the girls were talking about, right? And I was like, okay, so there's different things I can do with this. I could feel bad about it and feel scared, or I can like smile and see what happens, right? So I did end up smiling at them. At that moment, they came towards me and they were like, hi, why are you in our country? Why are you with the backpack? How come you're alone? So the fact that that's when like I clicked, it clicked, and I realized the fact that they're staring at me or staring at anybody else is because they're curious. They want to know why you're there in their country. They're not used to seeing people there, or if they are, like they want to know more about you. So that's when I was like, okay, like I got this. And I have like ever since, everywhere I travel and I have people staring at me, I would just smile. And that's gotten me to like crazy cool adventures. That's what's gotten me into like dinners with families. That's what's gotten me to stay over with local people. That's what's gotten me to like the most amazing experiences of my life, just by opening up completely. And I love that. I love that. I've been to so many countries where I see people writing down like, I'm afraid to go there. Should I actually go there? How are people gonna think? Just so many things, you know. I even lived in the Middle East where people were like, oh, how is living there as a woman? I'm like, it's amazing. I was
Mm.
treated like a princess. Like I was treated as a queen. It's like, yeah, but you can't wear shorts. You can't wear, it's like, that doesn't matter. Like that's not what life is about, right? Like I wore beautiful long dresses. Like what is the problem with that? But because of this, I've met amazing people along the way, and people that I can really like have for life. You know, I'm
Mm.
like I lived in the Middle East about 2 years ago or 3 years when I left, and I still have people I stay in touch with. I still love them to death, and I'm so happy. I've made like so many genuine connections while traveling, and I wouldn't change it in the world at all.
Beautiful, thank you. So, a question that I like to ask because I've also traveled for the majority of my life as well. And when I have conversations with certain females, they say, well, it's easier for you to travel because you're a male. Like, you don't have to worry about something.
Mm.
Now, somebody like you've been traveling for 8 years. If there's, let's say there's a big group of females that are listening, what would you share with them? What advice would you give them? And yeah, what would you say?
Okay, so I definitely say like don't be afraid. Like really. Like a lot of people said the same thing to me, like, oh no, like why would you go? Why would you go on your own? Like how is it being on your own? It's amazing. First
Hmm.
of all, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. You just have to go and enjoy. Like your doors will open, and it's not because you're going alone that you are always alone. You end up meeting so many other amazing souls out there, so many amazing people that end up being your friends for life, you know. And you can travel with them and meet them in another place. Like it, for me, it's been amazing. Like
Hmm.
I've, of course, in the beginning, like I mentioned, like I was afraid of going to Sri Lanka as alone as a girl, but most of the times because I'm alone, I feel like people are trying to take care of me. You know, another story in Sri Lanka was that I ended up going there. I didn't book a hostel beforehand, and I went to the hostel, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, we're booked out." And I was like, oh no, like where to go next? You know, I'm a newbie, so I'm just like, where to go next? And he's like, no, don't worry. I have a friend that has another hostel. So he called him up, and they came to pick me up. And then he's like, oh, where are the rest of the people? I'm like, no, I'm here on my own. And he's like, huh? He's like, okay, hold on. And he like made a phone call, and then this tuk-tuk came with his son in it, and he was like, okay, he's gonna take you where you have to go and have dinner. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. Got on the tuk-tuk, and then he took me, and he's like, okay, so this is a place where you can have dinner, so have dinner. And like I was like, okay, thank you so much, I'll see you tomorrow or later or whenever I go back. I ended up going inside of the restaurant. I ordered my food and I'm eating, and I see the guy coming in and like sitting right in front of me. And I was like, huh? And I like go to him and I'm like, what's wrong? Like if you're gonna sit here, you can sit with me. He's like, no, my dad said I have to keep an eye on you. So I'm gonna just sit there. And I was like, no, like if you're gonna come and like, if you're gonna keep an eye on me, come and sit with me, right? Like, don't do that. And then he ended up like even taking me back to the hostel. That next morning at 4 a.m, his dad like knocked on the door, and he's like, hello. And I was like, what in the world, 4 a.m? And he's like, do you want to go to the Upper Buddha? And I was like, okay, give me 5 minutes. Like I went, got dressed. We went to like in Kandy, you have like that high temple on the top with the Buddha. He took me there. We saw the sunrise, and that's when we I ended up meeting the Upper Buddha. He told him probably that I'm a solo traveler and that I'm a female, and I'm gonna be traveling for the next 2 weeks to Sri Lanka. And like he put his hands on my head and like started praying for me. I have no idea what he was saying, but I definitely felt it. Like that was so amazing. And that's what's happened to me after that. Every single time I go traveling, people in all these like countries, I feel like they want to take care of me because I'm solo traveling. I'm a solo female traveler, and they're like, oh my goodness, like let's take care of her. And it's opened up so many doors. I've loved it. Like I wouldn't change it in the world. Like it's lovely to travel with friends or with other people, but it's 100% different when you do. 100% different. When you're on your own, you tend to like talk easier to other people. You tend to open up more than when you're with another person, you know? Like I travel with my sister as well, and when I'm with her, like we tend to stick with each other, you know? We still do meet other people, but we're mostly stuck with each other. But then when you're on your own, you're just like, well, I have no option. I have to go and talk to people, you know? And being a solo traveler, it's very easy. Like you go to and stay with like a good hostels, and you meet other solo travelers that have amazing stories that will give and plant like a seed in your brain that you want to go somewhere else. Like it's crazy. Another like of those stories was like I was in Colombia, and so we used to live in Colombia when I was very little. And we were in the upper part, like Guajira, it's called. And my mom used to tell me that when we were very young, like the guerrilla was there, and we should be really, really careful. So now that I was like, okay, mommy, I also went backpacking through South America for 6 months. My mom was like, you can go anywhere you want, but don't go to La Guerrilla. Once they know that you live in Europe or your grandpa is from America, like, it's not going to be okay. And so I was like, okay, so La Guajira is a place I will definitely skip. But I was in Bucaramanga in Colombia, and I met this guy, beautiful soul. He started telling me like his story and how he went to La Guajira and like saw amazing things. And there were a lot of kids there with no water. So if anybody ever wants to go to La Guajira, to make sure that they bring water with them, because they won't take food because they're just so thirsty. There's no clean water around. So definitely I was like, he told me this whole story, and it just got into my head, you know? He planted that seed in my head. And then I was just like, I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm going to La Guajira. And it was incredible. It was incredible. Yes, I did take like gallons of water. So people out there, if you ever go to La Guajira, please take water to the kids. Took gallons of water with us in the truck, and just gave it to them, and they were so happy. You get that amazing experience. You had like, there were like hammocks on the beach. You could see the sunrise, sunset, and it was so beautiful. And I'm so happy that I didn't let my mom's influence from years ago like make me change my mind, you know? Like, I'm really happy I did that. Like, I wouldn't change it in the world, like, really. Oh man, I got so many stories like that.
So another question I have is, something that we were talking about yesterday is you talk about following your gut and your intuition and all this stuff, but what does that mean?
Okay, so like, yeah, like you said, like we were talking about it yesterday. I think it comes in years trying to follow your gut and like actually believing in it. So I'll give you another story. Also in Sri Lanka, that's when it all started. You know, that was my first backpacking trip. That's when I started like realizing how it all went down. Before leaving, my grandmother told me, when you go to Sri Lanka, please be safe, Nicole, because you trust people way too much. And that really got into my head. And she's like, just please be careful. Don't trust people too much. And I remember I was in Sri Lanka. I was in one of these towns, in one of these villages, and there was a tuk-tuk driver. He had like a tuk-tuk with like Bob Marley on it. He had a speaker with like reggae music coming out, and he comes up to me and he's like, hi, do you want, like in his best English, do you want to ride around here? I will take you to the most amazing place, somewhere where local tourists don't go. And I got this feeling, like a gut feeling, like I can trust this person, you know? So I went on the tuk-tuk and he started driving. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So we started driving and I'm like, so how far is this? And he's like, oh yeah, only 10 minutes away. I'm like, okay. So we go 10 minutes go by and I was like, okay, so where is this place? And he was like, oh yeah, 10 minutes. And I was like, huh? And then we ended up going into like this like forest as well. So there was like nothing. And then my grandmother's voice started gumming in my head. Nicole, you trust people way too much. You trust people way too much. And that's when I was like, oh, no. And I was like, excuse me, when are we going to get there? And he's like, yeah, 5 minutes. And I'm like, I started getting very frustrated. And then at a certain point, I went back and I was like, I can't believe, like, I can't trust my gut feeling because, like, this is it. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to me right now. Like, I thought I just, like, made peace with the fact that something bad might happen. I was like, I'm honest. Like, I don't know where I'm at. Like, this is it. And I got really frustrated. I'm like, okay, when are we going to get there? And he's like, we are almost there. Look. And then I looked to the left and it was this huge river with local people cleaning their clothes and everything. That's when I like looked at him and then I was like, oh, I can't believe I would let somebody's words get to me. I literally should trust my gut feeling. This person was amazing. He ended up like showing me around that day, the next day. And he even took me up to the like Sigiriya rock, like my personal tour guide, and not because of he wanted money, because he said he wanted, I think it was for like about $10 for like the 2 days and something, which is nothing. But he wanted to make that connection with a different person, that it wasn't from his village. And the fact that I like doubted that made me feel really like bad. I was like, man, I wish I had not had those thoughts. Then I would have like enjoyed the ride there probably a bit more. I loved it. I loved every single part of it. And after that, I decided like I'm gonna go with my gut, you know? And it happened the same in like Brazil. I was hitchhiking and every time like a car would stop and I would not feel good with my gut, I would say, okay, no, thank you, bye. And then they'd go. But then if I have a good gut feeling, I would like follow it, you know? Like I like ended up going on like a truck with this man, which is like, I'm not telling people to go do that, but I had a good gut feeling. And he ended up inviting us to his a family and to his house and to have dinner with him. He ended up like stopping and negotiating a hotel room for us, where we ended up paying €5 for 2 nights, a private room, like everything. It was
Hmm.
like, so like I after that I'm like, I have to go with my gut feeling. Like, you learn it after a while. Like, you have to learn to like trust your gut feeling after a while, because that's what mine has always gotten me into like all these adventures. And like, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, Nicole, but nothing bad's ever happened to you. Nothing, like, no, actually, nothing bad traveling wise. Nothing. Like, yes, I've gotten Zika, yes, I've gotten dengue. But that's not, I mean, that's just the mosquitoes. It's not like we can do something about it, right? But I loved it. I've loved every single adventure I've been on so far, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I can't wait for like the future adventures.
It's cool. What I really like what you were talking about is the idea of sometimes we can't trust our gut, not because our gut is wrong, but because we've had so many seeds from other people put into our head that we don't realize that we're not looking through our own lens. We're looking through the lens of a mother or a friend or somebody else that have told us to look or feel in a certain way, and we feel nervous.
Exactly. Yeah. I Exactly. I do feel like if you let other people influence you and the way you think, then of course things are gonna happen, you know? Like, I mean, so far my gut feelings always told me to like do the right things, you know? Like,
Hmm.
of course, I'm still a solo female traveler, so I'm still gonna be pretty safe. I'm not gonna go into like a dark alley. I'm not gonna get into a car with in the night with a guy I don't know. I'm still pretty safe. I'm still pretty like awake. Like, I'm still pretty um let's say, I know what I shouldn't and shouldn't do, and then that's why I know I can trust my gut feeling. I'm not just gonna like drunkenly get somewhere. Like, you just follow your gut, and then hopefully it'll all go right. And well, for me, it's been like that.
Well, I believe that the gut and all that we do is it's like a muscle and it takes time. It takes time to build it up and takes time to learn. And it also takes time to know that what situation are you on in? Like, where are you? Are you at a bar? Are you at a club? Are you surrounded by alcohol? Because then that's not a gut feeling. That's a drunken feeling. That you're trusting that something that it's more based on emotions and feeling a high right now versus what your intuition and everything else was actually saying to you. I've had some of the most amazing experiences in my life. Even when I was in Bangladesh, when I was doing my training, they said, don't leave the hotel. Everybody out there, just, it's not safe. So what do? You leave the hotel and you start walking around and you start waving to people and they start waving at you. And then kids are running up to you and they're like, look at this guy waving at us. And then like I had all these rickshaw people come up to me and they're just like, come in, come in, come in. And I'm just like, nope, nope, nope. Yes, me and you are going to have a day. So got into the rickshaw and he took me to, they always say, don't go to the poorest areas. So I'm like, let's go to the poorest areas. And we went there and I was able to play with the kids and spend the day with them and really have fun because fundamentally you're thinking that, oh, they're poor because they don't have the things that you need versus no, actually they're rich because they don't have the things that I need. I want to learn
Exactly.
from these people. So I was able to spend time with them. I was able to go, get some water for them, bring them some things into their life. Because if I were to listen to everything that people tell me, then I would never actually be able to live my life.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And traveling has taught me that. Like, you know, the way I travel is completely different than how most of the people travel.
Hmm.
I don't go and stay at a very nice hotel, except if I'm with my grandparents, because then I can afford it. um, no, I tend to stay in like hostels, guest houses. I try to stay with local people. I go eat with local people. I go spend time with local people, because I feel like that's when you actually start realizing and literally understanding every single place you go to. I I don't go and just travel and stay in one place for like 5 days and then gone. Like I mostly stay in each place at least a month, because I feel like getting like into that culture and into that religion, into their way of living, like fulfills me more than I could fulfill them. You know, I feel like I learned so much more from these people than I would from like my friends that have the same things as me, you know? Like I love it, like what you said, like a lot of these kids, and like you had that call with Chris as well, where you guys were talking about how some of the kids just have like a tire and they're playing with that on the street and they're like super happy. You know, that was me when I was young, when I was living in Ecuador, when my great grandparents are from the Amazon, and so we used to go to the Amazon and visit them, and that's how I used to play. And man, I feel like that's why I'm like traveling around the world, because I feel like that kid is still in there. That kid is still in there, and like I want to like find it on this all these other people, you know? Like I love that. Like yeah, I get
Those,
very excited when I talk about these things. Sorry.
well, I think what you're talking about is super important. The reason why is because none of us are actually adults. And this is what I say, being an adult is an illusion. Because the second that you think you're adult, you think it's okay to use the word I'm busy or I'm this, I'm that. But when you connect with that child, you become playful, life becomes fun, and you really start to connect to that heart. And we have such beautiful hearts. People really do. And be playful, have fun, laugh, enjoy. When you were a kid, you used to fall down and then you'd get back up with a scrape and you just keep on running. But nowadays it's like, oh no, I fell. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it. But it's just like, no, man, you're just a kid playing. Like you're going to get your scrapes from
Yeah.
one day or another. When it comes to like, your adventures from traveling, we talked about following the intuition. We've talked about following the gut. We talked about you going around to different places. But, how do you sustain yourself for such a long time traveling around?
Well, this is my dream,
Hmm.
and I will do anything to keep on doing it. So I would work 2, 3 jobs for 4, 5 months straight, nonstop, and focus. That was my focus. Like I'm saving money. I'm working this job. I'm working that job. I'm babysitting, whatever it takes. I'm saving all the money I can, and I'm not spending anything. I'm not a person that goes out regularly. Of course, I'd love to like go have a drink every now and then, but I don't go out. I don't spend my money on alcohol. You know, I have people tell me like they would spend 1,000 K on a night, like a crazy night out. I was like, man, with 1,000 K, I can live in the Philippines for a month. Like, please send it this way. You know, you spend it one night, and then for you to have pain the next day, I could literally go and have like this amazing life in the Philippines. And so I would do anything it takes for me to actually be able to keep on doing what I do. So I'd work that, I would save up as much as possible, and then I'd go and travel. I'm really good, because I've been doing it for 8 years. I'm really good at finding very like flight tickets. I'm very good at living very cheap, you know, like the clothes I wear, like even though on my Instagram it looks like I have all these like different kinds, no, like I've been wearing those same shorts for years now. I've been wearing the same t-shirt for years, until like it's impossible, until it looks all like stretched out, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's time to get new ones. And then I end up buying clothes in all these local places I go, which end up like costing nothing, like $2 for like a wrap around, which makes me look really cute anyway. So I would do anything, and that's what I've been doing. Like has been my life. You know, I lived in Australia for 2 years before. I think I left 1 year ago. Australia. I was there for 2 years, and I was doing anything and everything I could just to be able to keep on traveling and having that experience. I remember having $68 on my bank account and being like, what am I gonna do? But before that, I worked so hard. I bought a car, like a Jeep, so I could travel around with it. It cost me nothing. And then I was like, $68. Okay, so I found a job here. I found a little job there. I sold my car, and I got my tax return, thank God. And out of a sudden, I went from having $68 to having almost 7,000, where it allowed me to like just go and travel like for the rest of Australia. I ended up doing like that whole loop, everything in the middle. I just missed two little places, Melbourne and Tasmania, but don't worry, I'm coming.
Well, I like it because you say that you have a dream, but you don't make up excuses for your dream. You
No,
find solutions.
I make it happen, whatever it takes. Like I will make it happen. Like it's very easy if you, I feel like if you really want something, you'll get it, but only if you really really want it, you know. This is my dream. I want it so bad. I'm not gonna let see my like every day pass by and not go for it, not work for it, you know. Like I get like all like tingly when I think of like the next trip I can have and how long it'll take me until I can have my next trip, you know. Like it's the best thing, and like I would do anything for it, and that's how I've been for the last few years. And yeah, I wouldn't change it. You
I
have
don't,
to, guys, literally go and work for what you really want.
I fully agree. The one thing is, it's like invest in experiences, not in objects.
Exactly.
Understand that you have time, but you don't have time. Time is the one resource that we can't buy back.
No, not at
And
all.
and when it comes later in life, it's the idea of how did you use it? Did you use it to work towards a dream? Because that's going to give you the incentive of understanding it. When you do things that are easy in life, like life becomes hard. But when you do things that are hard in life, life becomes easier. It's putting in that work because at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I busted off my ass and now I'm in the Philippines watching a sunset. You
Exactly.
know, it's like, for
Totally.
me, it's like I train for like 6 months and I run a race and I get to the finish line and I'm just like, what's next? You
Yeah.
know, because you're like, whoa, one sec. If I can do this
What
and
else?
I'm not dead and I'm enjoying it, one sec, life. What else you got at me? Like dreams? Like, come on, let's go for this. What else can you throw at me? Because I can handle this. But it comes from step by step and learning and putting yourself out there and
Exactly.
realizing that taking 4 jobs at a time is not going to kill you. Traveling around and having no dollars in your bank account is actually an opportunity for you to be like, now I'm uncomfortable. Now your brain has to learn. And now you create. And then you're like, all right, next adventure. And then you trust your
Exactly.
gut and you trust your intuition. And, it's this idea that a lot of people talk about traveling around the world. They're like, well, I do it just, but there's steps, there's processes, there's trust, there's days that you're happy, there's days that you're sad, there's days that you're nervous, but like you're constantly moving towards a path and you're rewiring your brain and your mind and your body and your soul to be like, this is the path and we're
Yeah.
going to do it. And it's just like, all right, let's go for it.
100%. I agree completely. Like that's how it is. Like everything I've gone through all these like adventures, through all these things, like it brought me to the person I am today, where I can trust myself, and I can trust myself in every single decision I'm gonna make, because I know all the things I've been through and I've gone through like brought me to where I am today, you know. And I love it. Like just doing whatever it takes to get there. It's great. And I know like a lot of people do like comment on my Instagram like, oh, you're always happy, you're never sad. And it's like, well, I'm still a human being like all of you. I still go through sad moments, I still go through bad moments, I still go through hard moments where I'm like, why am I doing this? But then I realize like I'm doing this because I love doing this. This is my life. I love traveling and I don't want it ever to stop. Like, so it is hard. But if you really want something, you do whatever it takes to get it. And this is how my brain is wired now. If I focus and I'm good and I try to have like good energy and good vibes, I know it's gonna bring so much, like it's gonna bring so much fulfillment, and it's gonna take me to where I'm supposed to be next, you know?
I agree. I rather have hard moments in my dreams than hard moments trying to live somebody else's.
Yeah. And like I understand when people are like, oh, I just want to leave a peaceful life and like just have a job and home and live a peaceful life and that's it. Like I feel that when you're in a very comfortable moment, like if you're living a very comfortable life, that's when you have to do something about it, because life is not meant to be lived comfortably. That's how I think. Like, come on, like push yourself, learn something new, get out there, learn new people, like go and do something new, because that is what life is about. Life is about trying new things, having new experiences, meeting new people, because this is the only life you have, and you're gonna live it just comfortably, like on like a flat line. That's when you're actually dead, not
Hmm.
alive. So that's why I feel the most alive when I'm out there learning, meeting people, learning different languages, learning new cultures, new religions. Like I was raised as a Protestant, but I've lived in the Middle East where I've met so many of my friends are Muslim, and then I've met Hindu people, and I've gotten into like Buddhism, and I love it all. I love it all, and I take everything a little bit from everyone, and that's how I live my life. And this is how I've become the person I am today. You know, I have grown so much. I'm not the same person I was a week ago. I'm completely different. And I feel like I have a lot of people that I knew from before I left traveling, and they still have this idea of who Nicole is. But that Nicole is not the same Nicole I am today. You know, I'm completely different. I've completely grown in like an amazing way. So I hope a lot of people can do the same. And this is one thing I want people to go out there and like learn more cultures, learn more religions, learn more people, meet people, and like you'll see that it's not scary. The world out there is not scary. The world in here is scary.
I like that. It's very beautiful. Very well said.
Oh, thank you. Came from the heart.
I can tell. One of the things that, you hit on to is very important. Like I traveled for about 9 years and then I came back home. And who people thought I was the same person from 9 years ago. But who I was the person 9 years later.
Mm.
It's like I changed, I grew, I lived, I learned, and by coming back, actually just I discovered the differences in me. Also, throughout my travels, I started learning things about individuals. It's like you shouldn't do this or be careful of this, and like I started realizing that a lot of people were putting their limitations of their life on me because they were worried that if I were to do something that they didn't, then they would have to question their lives in a way that they haven't, and it made them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think those are some really interesting lessons to learn in life.
Yeah.
I know that it's just a lot of people feel comfortable, but they're uncomfortable in their comfort.
Yeah, it's so true. I remember also when I went and studied in Italy and I went back, I had a group of good friends, my best friend, still my best friend until the day of today, even though I'm far away. She has two beautiful babies that I love to death. And each time I go back, like I see them and I bring them presents from anywhere in the world I'm at. Um, I love her to death, but we had like a group of friends, and one of the girls was um, like buying a new house. And when I go back, they all like to like show me all their new things that they're having. And she came and she's like, "Oh, look, I'm like I bought a house, and you want to see all the pictures and everything." And I'm going through it, and I'm really proud of her. I'm like, "I'm so happy for you." And then like she closed the book, and then she looked at me and she's like, "But how about you, Nicole? Like, don't you feel sad that we're all like moving forward in our life and you're not?
Mm,
Like, we all have boyfriends, we're all buying a house, and here you are just in Italy studying and traveling and blah blah." And that's like I was this close to crying, but I thought she doesn't deserve to see me cry.
hmm.
I then told her, like, we're just going different paths. Like, if that's what makes you happy, go for it. But I'm doing something that's making me happy. And this was like 7 years ago when she said this. And like, I'm so happy that we did the different paths, you know? Like, imagine me right now sitting in a house and it's not for me. I'm I'm happy doing what I do, and that's it. Like, you should like people shouldn't judge other people for things that they want to do. Like, everybody has their own dreams and should follow them.
I fully agree with you on that. It's the fact that why is a rainbow beautiful? Because it has so many different colors.
Yeah.
You know, us in our lives, why, what is so important? It's my life was not brought up to be like everybody else's, and everybody can choose to make their lives however they want. If you want to buy a house and you want to have kids and you want to do these things, then that's beautiful. That's you. But if I choose to live my life different, please respect me as if I respect you. You know, the decisions that I make as an individual. So when you're sharing that story, it makes a lot of sense because you get that. You know, when I was 22, I finished school, which was something that I didn't think I'd actually do. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm 22, I'm gonna get a job, and then I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna have kids, and that's gonna be my life. And then no, I'll probably travel here and there, but I'm like, to me, that didn't make sense because I'm like, I don't even know who the hell I am, you know, like, and I'm supposed to live another what 58 years with somebody else? Like this can't be possible. And I got up and I left and I started traveling, and that's where I moved to China and I traveled for 9 years, and it taught me so much about my life, and it also taught me more about who my friends were. Where
Yeah.
I'm, you know, it's like we were talking about yesterday. I found out that a lot of my friends I was living with, I had in my life is because I fit in, but I didn't belong. I was doing things because everybody else was doing it because I thought, well, this is what life's about. But it was something that didn't make me feel like that was what my life was about. And then through travels and being alone, I also found out that there's so much more to me. Like, I don't need to go to the bar. I don't need to do these things. I don't need to do anything. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. Like, this idea of life has to be a certain way completely shattered. And it's just like, whoa, life can be whatever way I want it to be. Okay. And then the little kid comes down and he's like, all right, let's get muddy. Let's play with these rocks. Let's fall down a water slide, like a waterfall, and get a stick put in through our foot. Like, you know, it's like, you know, let's have some fun. And then it's just like you invest in adventures and you invest in experiences and you invest in things that no matter what, if for some reason your house were to burn down or something were to happen, they can't take that away from you.
Yeah.
So these
Exactly.
moments and these experiences, I agree with you, and that's why I connect with you on this, because I'm super wealthy because of the things I've experienced in my life, but I'm not
Exactly.
wealthy because of the things I have in my life.
Exactly. I agree 100%. I feel like I'm rich in a different way. Like
Hmm.
the way my heart is now, the way my soul is now, the way my head is now, my brain, just everything. The way I go through life, the way I walk and talk to people is completely different and so much richer because I've traveled, because I've gone around, because I've met so many people, and I'm so thankful for that. Like, I could get so emotional just thinking about it, you know, how different I used to be to like how I am now, and all this because of the traveling. So I do feel like I'm a rich person. I walk around thinking I'm a rich person, but in like my mind, in my heart, you know, I find it sad when people are like sometimes comment and say like, oh yeah, you're fake, you're this, you're that, and it's like, man, like you don't have no idea everything I've been through. And
Hmm.
I like, I love traveling, I love going like that. Yes, my pictures show a lot me on the beach, but I love the beach. I mean, I'm South American, but there's so much more to that, you know. I've been with so many local people. I've had dinners with them and like had all these crazy experiences that's brought me to the way I think now and feel now and talk now, that yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. I am rich.
It's also my definition of richness, experiences, because those are the one things. My motto in life is only invest in things that invest in me.
Yeah.
So before I buy a pair of shoes for my run, before I have a meal, before I do anything, I'm like, how is this going to invest in my life?
Yeah.
How is this going to make my life better? And how is it that I'm going to be able to support and help those people around me in life? Because if for me to be the best person in other people's lives, I need to be the best person in my own life.
Yeah.
And
That is
how do
so
you
true.
and how do you do that? By
Yeah.
honoring yourself, about being like, I'm going to go travel and I'm going to go live. And the thing is, it's like our brains just like, you can't do it. You can't do it until you buy the ticket. And it's just like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
I don't have money, but I'll do it.
But the thing is, it's like your brain, it just wants you to be comfortable and wants you to survive. The second you take it out of that place, then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, but we still have to survive. We still have to do something. So it's just like, but you show the brain, it's just like, we're going to do this. And it's just like, no, no, no. And then you start doing it and it's like, okay, 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 let's find out a plan, because it's realizing that you're not trying to hurt it. You're just trying to help it.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with what you said. Life is not about surviving. It's about thriving.
Yeah.
It's two different things.
Exactly. 100%. Like, I feel like for me, the way I've lived, I've like, God forgives, but if anything would happen to me tomorrow, like, everybody could truly know that, like, I lived the life I wanted to live, you know, with those crazy ups and downs, with trying to get money, with trying to survive, with trying to, like, anything. Like, it was so worth it, you know, the 24-hour bus rides, the 13-hour airplanes, the sleeping on the floor or the sleeping on the hammock, and like, it was all worth it, all of it, you know. Like, being stuck in the Amazon River for over a week without food or drinks, like, at that moment it was like, what am I doing right now? Like, how is this? Like, that's when, like, my comfort level went from here to, like, all the way up here, you know? I was just like, I'm in the middle of the Amazon, I have no more food, we have no more water, and what now? You're just do whatever it takes. And once I left foot out of that boat, I was there with my cousin who is from South America, who is used to that, was like, nope, not doing that ever again, thank you very much, goodbye. He still talks about it like it was the most craziest cool adventure ever. But the moment I left that boat, I had like, oh my God, I miss it already. Because it brought me so out of my comfort zone that I just was like, okay, next one, like, where else can I, like, go to, like, get me out of this comfort zone? Like, I want more. And that's what I've been doing for such a long time. Like, okay, where's the next place where it's going to bring me out of my comfort zone?
I think
Like,
that's so. No, I agree. I fully agree with you. And I think that's so important. And it doesn't have to be getting lost in the Amazon for that many days. It could just be speaking to a stranger.
yeah.
You know, it could be about, like, cooking food that you haven't cooked. Like, it could be these things. But I agree with you. It's like these places that we realize that we're uncomfortable will only help us to ask more questions that we had no idea. It's like, put yourself in such interesting situations and you'll be surprised at, one, what you can actually do. Two, how you're actually a lot smarter, a lot stronger, and a lot wiser than you could ever imagine. And three, that you will find a way, because you're programmed, your brain will help you, that your body will work with you, that you can achieve it.
Exactly.
So, because I know we could talk for days. So
yeah.
before we go, there's two parts. First part is one question, which is, if you could say something to your younger self, what would you say to them?
Oh, okay. I would say, don't worry. Like, everything is gonna fall into place. Like, just do it. Like, don't hesitate. Just go for it and stop worrying. Like, that's definitely, like, and, like, go for it. Like, just.
I love it. I love it. One of my mottos in life is just do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Nike was just like, once I saw just do it, I'm like, I like that. I'm going to do that. just going to do that.
Just go for it. Never say no to new experiences. Like, just go.
Yeah, you have so much more to gain from it. So before we go, I just want to acknowledge you as a person. Thank you for sharing you and your wisdom and your experience, your heart, you know, your beautiful stories, you know, your bravery, your courage throughout everything that you do, because it's not easy to take those steps. It's not easy to get on those planes. And it's not easy to explore new questions in your life when you know that you can easily live a life of comfort but you choose to understand that that comfort will bring more uncomfort, especially when you have an inch in your soul.
Yeah.
So I just want to acknowledge you and your bravery, your heart, and the individual that you are, and just say, thank you so much for who you are.
Thank you. I want to say thank you as well, because you are also taking me out of my comfort zone by doing things like this and talking. Because even though I'm a very social person in real life, doing live videos is definitely out of my comfort zone. So thank you so much. And I'm really happy I've met you. And I can't wait to have so many more conversations.
Oh, we will. So before we go, where can people find you? So Instagram is
Adventure.hopping. Because I'm not bar hopping, I'm adventure hopping. There, and yeah, if anybody has any questions, tips about where to go to or how to like travel local, like just hit me up and I'll definitely be able to help anyone.
I think that's a good talk that we'll do another day, is how to travel locally.
I'm down.
Beautiful. Well, once again, thank you so much. I'll put all your information online so people can have it, and we'll talk again soon.
Gracias.
Bye bye.
Bye.